Our regular council meeting agenda to order for Monday, March 21st. Welcome, everyone. I might first ask that if you have a cell phone with you, that you either turn it off or turn the volume down so that we don't disturb the meeting agenda. Mayor McDermott's on vacation this evening, so that's the reason why I am sitting in his chair, and he'll be back later in the week. Any declarations of conflict of interest? And I don't see any head shaking yes, so I need an adoption of the published agenda. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Kexero. Any additions? So, Councillor Bondi, did you have an addition?
Yes, please. If I may, under new business, an update in a request from the Harrow High School Working Committee. Please.
Okay. And Mr. Robert Auger, you have our clerk has an addition.
We'd also like to add a verbal report under administration reports, a verbal report from the CAO.
I also have an item that I'd like to add. General announcement is one, public announcement, and also the discussion on an EMHA request for some funding for their OHF Atom tournament that they're hosting in 2 weeks. Any further? Councillor Snively?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'd like to add an item. If we, as a council administration, can print up a letter to Dr. Carswell thanking him for the 30-year service as a doctor in the town of Harrow.
Thank you. Thank you. And is there any additional? So I need a motion I need that accepted. Move. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next, I need an adoption of the minutes of March the 7th, regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Kexero and by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have a public presentation. We have a public presentation for Serenity Lavender Farms, but I do not see Mr. Gorski in the audience. So, Councillor Kexero.
Through you, I just received a text message from him. He is on his way. He wasn't sure where the meeting was being held.
Okay, thank you. So we'll postpone A, and we'll go back to that when Mr. Gorski arrives. So we'll go on to item B, Mr. Joe Rizzo, and that's South Point Lane Development. And Mr. Rizzo, if you'd like to take a seat at the table in front of council. There's a purple button on the front side of the speaker microphone that you have to push, and then you'll be able to speak to council. Thank you. And we have Mr. Auger, remind me, 5 minutes?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
5-minute presentation.
Good evening.
Can you please state your names for us?
My name is Frank Rizzo. This is my dad, Joe Rizzo. We're here to discuss the South Point development, piece of property that was developed in 1994. It was brought about and decided by an OMB decision. The decision was for each lot individually for a future development, basically subdivision for individual lots. A hold was placed on the entire area zoning until all Colchester at that time, the MOE, and IRCA requirements were satisfied, again for the development of individual lots, future development. Eventually approval was given from Colchester, the MOE, and IRCA, and that all property owners had satisfied all the requirements per the MMM report at that time. The OMB's decision is final, and according to law, it says it cannot be changed or altered by any governing body. And this is kind of what we're here to refute today. here are the requirements that were already approved by ERCA. And number one was constructing the lowest opening of the buildings 0.6 meters above the 100-year flood level, setting the driveway and top of the road elevations, and limiting the amount of fill placed within each of the lots. And this was by Lamore Alexander, an engineer at the MMM Group. In his requirements, he had approved by ERCA. He also had some correspondence that he gave to us about his report. And the correspondence was, Mr. Rizzo attaches a letter stating that the MMM report does not stipulate a maximum dwelling size within the South Point Lane subdivision and should not be used as a basis for the denial of any permit or applications for houses above this size. We have provided this letter as a courtesy to you, since in our opinion, our report has been incorrectly used to deny your permit. He also had a letter, and in this letter he put, in conclusion, I wish to clarify that the MMM report does not specify the maximum allowable dwelling size generally permitted within the South Point Lane subdivision based on stormwater management and flood protection requirements, and therefore should not be used in any form or basis for denial of applications for building permits in this subdivision. Okay. Further on, per the Town of Essex or bylaws here, the South Point building permit procedure and correspondence per the chief building inspector in this area states that you're allowed to use your own personal engineer, licensed, or ERCA, but you do not require both. It says here, prior to construction of any building in South Point Lane subdivision, the owner shall submit a signed copy of his grade fill control plan report. This report is to confirm that either ERCA or a professional engineer registered in the province of Ontario has been retained at the owner's expense to conduct all engineering fieldwork. And final certification that all of ERCA's regulations and flood-proofing elevations infilling for specific building envelope, yada, 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 as per the MMM report, is complete. Upon completion of construction or before the issuance of an occupancy permit, either ERCA or the owner's retained engineer will be required to submit to the Town of Essex Building Department a letter certifying that all grading and infilling have been constructed in accordance with the approved grade filling control plan report. And this is from Kevin Carter, from the chief building official at the Town of Essex. And then your application also shows that all is required is either ERCA's confirmation or a professional engineered or registered in the province of Ontario. So you have one or the other, you don't require both. ERCA now states that up to 2006, it was acceptable, this was acceptable, what we presented here. But since then, 2006, the 15806 regulation has changed. And it says everyone building in this area now needs ERCA approval again, even though the same report, the MMM report and the OMB decision still governs the approval process for this area.
Mr. Rizzo, you've had your 5 minutes, so you have to speed it up and bring it to a summary.
Okay, basically what I would like to finalize and say then is, we would like to know, why do we need ERCA approval again? Because the OMB decision has been finalized and can never be changed or altered in any way, shape, or form. We would like to know under whose authority can this law from ERCA take precedence over an OMB hearing and final decision? Under whose authority was it changed, and can we have it in writing?
Thank you. And we're going to refer that to our CAO, Mr. Russ Phillips.
Thank you, through your worship, acting worship. The question you asked, Frank, if I can refer, you're asking the town on who changed an ERCA decision? Do I understand you correct?
Well, what happened was, we had asked for a permit, basically, to build a new residence in the subdivision, and we were given a few stipulations. The first one was maximum of 3,200 square foot home, dwelling, and the second one was IRCA approval. And based on the OMB report, it simply says that all we need is either an engineer or IRCA. We don't need both. And the 3,200 issued by the city or by the township, sorry, I can't find that law anywhere. I don't see that number. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it exists. Because it's not in the OMB document. It's not in anything by IRCA as to dwelling envelope sizes. And it's not stipulated in the MMM report, which was basically the finalized process for the subdivision.
If I can continue, Your Worship. The building envelope size, as I understand, as has been described to me by our building department, is as stated on the drawings that have been continuously used, those from NJ Peralta Engineering. Just before the council meeting, I did issue a copy of those to each member of council. It's my understanding that Peralta was retained by the developers of the South Point Developments, Mr. Rizzo, and you were paid for these drawings, and effectively they've been used by the building department throughout. And although I agree with you that 3,200 is not stated anywhere, it's because after the OMB hearings, it's my understanding that the OMB ordered that the drawings be produced as a way of creating a pictorial diagram as a means of describing the building envelope such that it was easier for each owner. And so I have copy here. I believe you have this as well? Yes. Okay. So on that drawing, it describes lots 8 to 16, 18 to 24, 41 to 53, et cetera, et cetera. So each lot is described on there. And if you look at the very top of that, and I would encourage council to look at that, I've studied this so many times I don't look at the numbers anymore. It's an area of 13 meters by 23 meters, which when you do the math, and that is the building, you'll see it at the top of the drawing, it's the house footprint or the house envelope. Each property is allowed an envelope of 13 meters by 23 meters, which is 299 meters. And to take 299 meters times a factor of 10.56 will convert square meters, to square feet. And if you take the 10.56 times 299, you'll arrive at a number of 3,217 square feet. That is the maximum size of a foundation or of a home that can be built within the building envelope. That drawing is being used consistently as a result of the OMB hearing, and our building inspectors continue to use that. This is also a matter that has been recently reviewed in the town's favor by the Ontario Superior Court judge as a result of a challenge by the Rizzo family, by a member of the Rizzo family, and the courts awarded the ruling in favor of the town. This argument has been discussed and dealt with a number of times. And as far as change... If I might continue. We met recently with the town's lawyer, Mr. Jeff Hewitt, and this is, as he is described for council's benefit, this is the request is one that is before the courts and is one that has been dealt with by the courts. And it's not, this is not something that is appealable. It was not appealed previously by, I think, another member of the Rizzo family. So it should not truly be a matter that council is discussing tonight or to hear, but we invited Mr. Rizzo, not knowing what his concerns were, or they weren't clear in the discussion, in his request. But this matter has been dealt with. If you want to discuss the drawings, certainly we're willing to discuss that drawing number 18. Again, I think you're very familiar with it. Your engineers paid for this. or, sorry, your engineers developed it at your request. Thank you, Mr. Worship.
Next, Mr. Phillips.
Yes, I just have a couple issues to address here. First of all, Mr. Kevin Carter, I went to your office. That's what he went by, the McLean-Manhattan report. That's his writing on this document, okay? That's what Kevin Carter used. He didn't use the engineer because the engineer report from Peralta, it's a typical system that I request him to design for me to have an idea what we could do in that subdivision was not. I spoke to Mr. Peralta personally, and Mr. Peralta told me, Mr. Ritz, that was a typical system. It's not, the dimensions are not, and it's not registered in the registrar office against the property owner. That is an illegal document that you're referring to. This is the legal document that Kevin Carter used. And you heard from McLean-Manhattan engineer report that this report cannot be used to deny a permit based on his report of 3200 design. That is legal. This is legal. This is registered against the property owner. What you're referring to, it's not. Second of all, we spent over $2 million. Right now, the property are depreciating on value because of your inspector decision to make sure that nobody can build there. I built a house which was 6,500 square feet. They put a barn beside it, which is not 1,000 square feet. There is a house across from me, right next to 1690. I built those houses. I built several houses there. They are over 4,000 square feet home in that subdivision. So your inspector cannot jump and run all over the place. I have that you send it to me, certain document that an engineer was used on 6155 and 6075. There was no ERC involvement. I bring that to attention of ERC. Final ERC wrote to me yesterday, yes, Mr. Rizzo, we agree with you. We had an agreement. Yes, you could build a house there without ERC approval. I have it in writing. I have that in writing. Dated March 11, 16, from the CEO of ERCA, Mr. Richard Wayne. So you guys stop jumping around and get to the point.
Yes, yes.
I'm not talking about the court case.
Councillor Snively,
I'm talking about the whole subdivision, my friend, which your inspector is misleading.
Mr. Rizzo?
Your inspector is misleading, sir.
Yes.
You have to understand that.
Yep.
The document that we use, that your CEO is using, it's not registered. It's not a legal document.
Right.
It's not against OMB hearing,
Right.
you guys.
So that's what you're saying, but we have legal advice that says it is the legal document
It's
to
not.
use.
It's not legal.
Well, I understand you believe that.
No, I believe that. I
Yep.
can bring
So,
you.
Mr. Rizzo,
I go to the registrar office.
you can say it
and I
as
bring
loud
you
as,
the document.
Mr. Rizzo, you can say it as loud as you like, or you can say it as many times as you like, but we have a difference of opinion. So, is there anything else that you wanted to state besides, or questions that you wanted to ask of council? Right now, you're just,
Well, I want
you're addressing council.
I want a council to make a decision that subdivision got to keep going. That way we started. There is no restriction of 3,200, and ERCA approval is not required. We have it on right from ERCA, you guys, now. Finally, I have ERCA approval.
Okay, thank you. So that's your question?
Yes,
That you want council to remove the condition that there's
that's all right, because they were never
3,200 square
there.
feet required per lot?
That's all right, correct. They were never there. If you read the
Okay.
OMB hearing, they are not there, sir.
Thank you. We've got your point. And I'm going to ask Councillor Bondi to move ahead with her question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to receive the presentation. Also, if Mr. Rizzo has anything that he thinks council should have, I suggest he makes copies of it and drops it off at Town Hall. It's too big of an issue to deal with tonight, but I'd like to move to receive, and I'm looking for support.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions from members of council? All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Rizzo and Mr.
Thank
Rizzo.
you.
Thank you very much.
Did anyone see Mr. Gorski walk in at this point? Mr. Gorski? So we have a distinguished guest this evening, Mr. Gorski and his partner, Suzanne Dizak.
Not my partner, but Suzanne Dychuk is my partner.
Well, okay,
Thanks very much. She's unfortunately unable to join us tonight.
okay. So you've recently received the first annual Ontario Southwest Innovation Award as part of Serenity Lavender Farms. You were a finalist, and is there anything you can bring to our attention and on that matter? There's a little purple button on the speaker unit, if you want to push that.
I'm sure my wife would like to be here to share the honor. Her and I are both partners and operate Serenity Lavender Inc. in Colchester, and it's a real pleasure to see the fruits of our labors being recognized by the likes of Southwestern Ontario Tourism Corporation, as it is our firm belief that tourism is a new up-and-coming economic driving force in Windsor, Essex, and we are delighted to be part of it. And it's excellent to see other Ontario citizens recognizing it as well. So it's a real honor and a pleasure for both Suzanne and I. Thanks.
We thank you for being here this evening, and it was brought to our attention by several council members that we would like to address this at one of our council meetings to congratulate you and Suzanne. And perhaps if anybody would, Councillor Kexer, I'll give you a moment in a moment here, but perhaps at the end of whatever our discussions are here, we can maybe have you come up. I believe you had an award, that physical award, and we'll give opportunity to the press to take a picture with council members.
Very good, thank you.
Councillor Kexero.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Malosh. Maybe if, Martin, if you want to maybe give us a little 2-minute speech on what exactly the Lavender Farm is all about, just so that we know why you won the award, and for the press also, so that they can maybe pick up on this.
Thanks, Bill. It was an innovation award they were looking for tourism companies that were creating a new tourism product. Now, lavender farming has been with us for thousands of years as people, and we're not the only lavender farm in Ontario, but what does make us unique is we have partnered with a number of groups. The first was the Bicentennial War of 1812 Commission, where we had started a bicentennial peace garden on the grounds of the lavender farm. And it's also on the grounds of North 42 Degrees Estate Winery, which brought together two of my favorite things, wine and lavender. And we decided to expand our garden area to allow people, tourists, to come and enjoy up close in the rows of lavender in a relaxing environment, and be served wine by the glass in this environment. And that has brought a lot of tourists we have a map in our store of where you're from. Put a pin wherever you're from. And we thought in the first year or so, maybe we'll tag a few continents. Well, in 6 weeks, we had 3 continents tagged on this map. And whatever we're doing is working, because we are bringing people from not just Serenity Lavender, but our area in general, Lake Erie North Shore, the designated viticultural area. We're bringing people from all over the world to enjoy the beauty and culture that we have here. This area has been and is, I think, the oldest agricultural community in the country, and something that I believe, can leverage much more than we are doing so now to increase awareness, and with that, bring tourism and visitors to the area that can obviously help the local economy. One of the driving forces, when we first started North 42 Degrees Estate Winery, it became obvious immediately that a cash register would not be required for many, many years until the wine was actually in a bottle. And so the decision to plant lavender came as somewhat of breakfast meeting ideas. We were growing lavender outside of our home as landscaping, and from that took off the commercial endeavor, Serenity Lavender Inc., where we make both culinary and aromatherapy products on site. And it's all organically produced. I think one of my favorite memories is the couple who came from someplace in China. They're clearly Chinese and just got off the airplane a week ago, and this woman was beside herself, standing in the middle of this lavender field. Had never seen, perhaps experienced that much open space and aroma and beauty in one surrounding. She was quite taken by it. So we knew we were on the right track, and can hope to continue to keep providing lavender and its associated products to our friends and visitors. So let's take that as a personal invitation to everybody here to come out and visit us.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski.
Thank you for the recognition. It's a real honor. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we're ready to take a picture if you are. Council members, if you want to join us on the front here. Okay, so that takes us on to our unfinished business portion of the meeting for this evening. And item A is the bringing back our Development of Infrastructure and Development Report, number 2016-01, crosswalks in the town of Essex. And I'm going to ask Mr. Auger if what it is that we've got to do here first. Is there something that we have to do first?
Your Worship, this report, as you mentioned, 2016-01 concerning pedestrian crosswalks was received at the February 8th meeting, but the recommendations contained in that report were tabled pending administration reporting back on if there were any additional concerns from an insurance perspective or liability perspective. And so Mr. Nepsy's reporting back as to that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Auger. So I'll ask Mr. Nepsy if he has wants to present this for us.
Sure. Through you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Auger and I had a conversation with the insurance company. We met with their risk management group as well. We took them through the proposed recommendations. We went through the report with them and their engineer as far as what we proposed, the Ontario Traffic Manual recommendations, how we got to where we're at. They noted, I guess, advised from a liability perspective that we'd definitely be lowering our exposure by taking the proactive steps that we recommended in the report that was presented at that previous council meeting. They noted that by removing them, entirely, people would be, they'll be out of an established practice, so we would be stopping an established practice that would no longer continue to be there. So that would be more of an issue by removing them completely than actually trying to modify them and bring them up into the guidelines that are recommended now. So in summary, to decrease our liability, they noted to go ahead with the recommendations that we had noted.
Thank you, Mr. Nepsey. Any questions from members of council? So further to that, then, Mr. Auger, do we need to bring this back first?
Yes, Your Worship, I believe we're looking for a motion to receive Mr. Nepsey's verbal report, and then we're looking at a motion to take the tabled motion back from the table and approve the recommendations, if that's council's wish.
Okay, so first of all, I have a motion to receive Mr. Nepsey's report from Councillor Snively and Councillor Caxero. Any questions on that? All in favor? That's carried. Now the tabled motion is what we need to address. So moved by Councillor Caxero to bring it back and to accept the,
Mr. Borkman, second.
and Councillor Bjorkman seconds that. Any questions on that portion of the motion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Point of information.
Councillor Bondi?
Thank you. Whether it's appropriate or not, Suzanne just showed up like 4 minutes late. So I don't know if we have time to do another photograph. It kind of seems appropriate. It's your business. Yeah. If we may.
Yeah, I think it might
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, okay.
that might be acceptable since she's here.
All
We
right.
didn't know she was going to arrive.
Let's go up and do another picture.
Really quick, let's go. Thank you, Councillor Bondi, for bringing that forward, and thank you for your patience, audience. So we're on to our next item. Item B, which is Minister responsible for senior awards, and waiting to hear from council on what your action might want to be. There's a recommendation there for... Okay, support the recommendation by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have reports from administration. First item is Community Services Report number 2016-010, transfer of beachside eats and treats ownership at the Colchester Harbor.
Support the recommendation.
Supported by Councillor Bondi and seconded by Councillor Snively. Any questions? Any comments? Mr. Sweet?
Through Deputy Mayor, basically this is just change of ownership for the lease. New owners, they are here, but they have some innovative ideas to help in that area too. So no conditions of the lease have changed for council's interest. Same terms and conditions.
Thank you, and I think we have some of the new operators and up in the audience there, just waving hi to us. Thank you. We wish you good luck. And I'll ask, any further comments to the motion? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item B, is Community Services Report, number 2016-005, 2016 Communities in Bloom Legacy Tree Program. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Caxero. Question from Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Doug Sweet, I love this idea. I think it's a great idea. I've also been approached by residents in the community that want to donate money to the town in memory of a loved one that has died. I think they did contact you, but wondering if we can also piggyback on this idea to accept donations from the community for tree planting.
You, Deputy Mayor. Currently, the town doesn't have a policy for trees or benches, so that is something we're working. It'll be a policy coming back to council. But right now, if anybody wants to donate money, as we're doing for one at Town Hall, they're free to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to make a general comment. This was something that came up back when I was chairing Communities in Bloom, and it's Mary Malash from McGregor that brought this idea forward. She worked diligently to try and get this grant secured, and I just want to say congratulations to Mary Malash from McGregor, because without her support and push and drive on this, it may have gone by the wayside, but she was determined that this was a program that we were going to adopt, so congratulations, Mary. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Item C on the agenda, Community Services Report number 2016-006, significant event status for the annual Colchester Walleye Derby. And I'll say the date, Saturday, June the 11th, 2016. Just give them a little bit of advertising here. The date. Moved by Councillor Bjorkman and supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Item D, Community Services Report number 2016-007. Similar, significant municipal event status for the 29th Essex Fun Fest, being held July 8th, 9th, 10th of 2016, supported by Councillor Vokes and Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions on that? All in favor? That's carried. Community Services Report number 2016-009. And this is in regard to the appraisal of Colchester Schoolhouse at 195 Bagot and 255 Bagot. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Caxero. Question by Councillor Snively.
I don't know if, through you, Deputy Mayor, I don't know if I should be bringing this up tonight or not, or maybe under new business following meeting, if council would like to discuss it tonight. Some of the recommendations, Doug, would you say we could use this property for? The appraisal come in very, very low, what I understand, and I can't see us selling that property for that kind of money and taking that kind of loss. So if you can comment on that, Doug, I appreciate it.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, for administration, I look for direction from council. Basically, we were asked to come back with appraisal to see what the options council would like to look at. Price came back at $180,000 for both lots. I think council will have to decide whether how they like to maintain that property if they retain it.
Councillor Snively?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I think moving forward, I think this should come under the next council meeting, maybe for discussion, because I don't think we're going to come to a solution tonight. As far as I'm concerned, at $180,000 appraisal, and we got $500,000 in this property, and what the upgrades we're doing with the park down at Colchester right now, parking's going to be tight, we know as it is now, with all the improvements at the park area there. So maybe we better look at this property before we decide moving forward and putting it up for sale. I think there's better ideas for this property. I think we might even be looking at maybe hard surfacing it for trailer parking in the future, I don't know. But I'd like to bring this forward at the next council meeting for discussion. Thank you.
Councillor Vokes?
How many real estate evaluations did we get on that property? Just one?
Through Deputy Mayor, this wasn't a real estate, this was just a formal appraisal based on current market value, so it hasn't gone out to real estate yet.
Any further questions? And I would agree with Councillor Snively saying maybe a little bit of brainstorming. I don't know if we can necessarily need to do it at our general meeting, but perhaps when we're having another public meeting where we're discussing what's going on, what we want to have done in the Colchester area along with the harbor and so on, that we could discuss in general what we'd like to do with that property as well. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Item F, Community Services Report Number 2016-008. Another significant event status, 5th Annual McGregor Mug Run and International Beer Fest, Saturday, September the 24th, 2016 at the Coan Park in McGregor. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item G, Community Services Report Number 2016-004, South Shore Fitness Center lease renewal at the Harrow site. Councillor Caxero moves, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions on this lease? All in favor? That's carried. Item H, Corporate Services Report Number 2016-03, an update on the billing of municipal drain works. And I'll maybe pass that off to our Director of Administration, Donna Hunter. Oops.
Through you, Your Worship.
Corporate Services, sorry.
At Councillor Caxero's request, I have prepared a report that kind of updates council on where we are and what we've done with drain billings. Since the report, there's one in there that I mentioned that was from the town of Annisburg. It was related to 2012 that had not been billed. We did just get the assessment data for that, so that will be billed now. So basically what's not billed at this point is anything that is for 2015 that was complete. There's some works in 2015 that are construction and they won't be complete as yet, but anything that we do have that is complete will be billed. We've also incorporated some improvements in the information that we provide to our residents, and also in terms of billings that are under the $10 mark, which we do not mail out, in terms of how we can handle that so people are not paying penalty and interest on something they knew nothing about. So I'm hoping that that's self-explanatory in terms of the report. If there's anything else that you need from me, just let me know.
Any further questions? The one question that I have, Ms. Hunter, maybe is what procedure or methods have been put in place to ensure that right now we're caught up to 2015? What procedures have been put in place to ensure that we don't get back to a situation where we're billing 5-year-old drainage works?
Through you, Your Worship. A few things have been put in place. First of all, we do a year-end reconciliation of all of the drain works, and we will review that with the drainage superintendent to make sure that we've identified everything that's complete and should be billed or ready to be billed out. And that is reconciled at year-end and will continue to be reconciled every year-end. I believe some of you may have seen that schedule that Jeff Morrison has come up with. We also meet, we're going to start meeting back again on a monthly basis and talk about the drain works that are in process and identify those that are complete and ready to bill out. So it's a monthly meeting that we're having now, and we're trying to maintain a schedule of all active drain work.
I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're on to item I. Building Department Report Number 2016-02. February 2016 Building Department. Need receipt of the... Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Item J, Planning Report Number 2016-06, Site Plan Control Amendment for the North 42 Degree Estate Winery. The site plan approval. Moved by Councillor Snively and supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions on this? Mr. Watson, I'll give you an opportunity if you'd like to speak to any of this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This North 42 is a rather modest winery right now in terms of the physical structures on there. I think the nicest part is the lavender field. But this is a substantial improvement in the overall appearance of the winery and in its function. At the present time, it doesn't have a real reception area for people to come in and taste wines, sample wines. This is basically what it's to be constructed for, and it's a very nice architectural design. The architect is here to speak to the matter if you have any questions toward that. But overall, it's quite an enhancement to the winery, and I think a very nice enhancement to County Road 50 as well.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Item K, Planning Report Number 2016-07. This is in regard to SBG Media sign request for Wards 1 and Ward 4. Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? We do have Mr. McClarity in the audience if there's any questions for him. Still see no questions required. Then he's off the hook. So all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Along with that recommendation came the passing of bylaw number 1499, as you can see in the agenda package. Next item on the agenda is item L, Planning Report Number 2016-08, Site Plan Control Amendment for Brato Investments Incorporated. That's a site plan approval, corner of North Talbot and Hopgood Side Road. Move and enact a bylaw by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Again, I'm going to give Mr. Watson an opportunity to speak to the issue before we move it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Brodo Investments, basically it's a 10,000 square foot commercial building at the corner of Hopgood and Talbot Road, a property that has been vacant for as long as I'm familiar. And so it's a welcome addition to commercial development along Talbot. The proposal basically is in two phases, basically a financial office and retail store in the first phase, and then an enlarged second phase, approximately the same size. The access will be by way of Hopgood, with provision for right turn ingress only off Talbot. The one stipulation, though, is that the Hopgood drain services this property. It requires Lakeshore's approval. And so a condition of the recommendation is that the actual site plan control agreement not take effect, not be registered until such time as we have clearance from the town of Lakeshore and our building department as far as stormwater detention is concerned. And that's all been agreed to and discussed with the applicants.
Thank you, Mr. Watson, for bringing us up to date. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Next item is item M, Corporate Services Report Number 2016-04, Sale of Properties for Tax Arrears, Unsold Properties, and I believe there are two properties that we're discussing here. So I need a motion that we prepare and submit, that be received, and that the council concurs with recommendations contained. Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions on these tax arrear properties? Mrs. Hunter, did you want an opportunity to speak to them?
Through you, I don't really have anything to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Item N is Corporate Services Report Number 2016-05, Statement of Remuneration and Expense Paid 2015 for the year ending to councilors and committees, members. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This will be posted to our website. Ms. Hunter?
Through your worship, yes, it will be.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Next, item O, I have a verbal report from our CAO, Russ Phillips.
Thank you, through you, your worship. It's with truly mixed emotions that I'm formally announcing my resignation from the position of Chief Administrative Officer with the town of Essex. I'm leaving the town's employ to take on a similar role as CAO back in Manitoba, my home province, and that'll put my wife and I closer to family, our sons and extended family, grandson, parents, and those types. My last day of employment will be Tuesday, April the 19th, with council's concurrence, and I advised the mayor in writing of this decision on Saturday, which is a requirement of my employment agreement to give you 30 days notice, and I need to start the other job at the beginning of May. So I advised senior staff and all staff with the town earlier today. I did want to take a moment, though, and I'll be with you for another month or so, but I really wanted to give thanks formally to council and to the town for the opportunity to serve the community for the past 3+ years. I've truly enjoyed working alongside of all, and especially the dedicated and resourceful staff that the town employs. I think together we've completed many of the municipality's goals and objectives, and it's been truly a privilege and one that I'm proud of our work together. I will take with me many fond memories of my experience and service here in Essex. I'd sincerely like to thank the members of the staff for their work and their support to the community. I've truly enjoyed working alongside the dedicated and resourceful staff, as I said, but I think so many of them give so much of their time, and it's been a real honor to be a coach of that team. As stated, it's my intent to continue to serve council, staff, and the community until the close of business on the 19th, and that allows me to conclude a number of open files that I have and deal with some of the work that you've tasked me with. And so I expect that my last meeting will be with you on the April 18th, I think it is. And in the interim, I have begun the process of, because I'm wearing the other hat of HR director right now as well, so I'm gathering the background for a search to find you a new CAO, and I've committed to council that I'll work on that process promptly. I would ask, though, tonight for council's consideration to how you wish to conduct that selection process. My recommendation would be that you continue to use an internal process, one that you've used in past, and that would allow the new human resource manager to effectively pull together the information and conduct the internal review to conduct the interview process and help with the selection process. However, I ask you for that. If you want to contract out that work, that would be your prerogative as well. So I would recommend that you use the internal process. Our new HR manager, Tara McGowan, will be starting with us on April 4th. That will give me a couple of weeks to work with her. In the meantime, the ads will be put out as we've done in the past. So I would leave that to you. So, and if you would give me a nod on which way you want to go with that, that would be appreciated. But in closing, it has been an honor serving the community and you, and I will hope to say goodbye formally to each and every one of you as I get an opportunity as that final chapter of closing the door comes about. But to those that are going to FCM in May, I hope to have a place landed by then, and I think I owe a few people a glass of wine or something. So if you're heading out that way, by all means look us up. And if you're looking for a place as you're heading west to see the Rockies, stop off just outside of Winnipeg, and we'll be there. So thank you.
Thank you for that report, Russ. I don't know whether to thank you or not, but thank you. Councillor Snively, did you have a comment?
Through you, your worship, we hate to see you go, Russ, and we hope you all the best. And as your recommendation, doing internal, I would put a motion forward that we would do that. I think that's the proper way to go, if somebody would support that motion. I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Snively that we keep it internal, and supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions in that regard? Councillor Vokes.
So much right from the corporation. I see it as shortly over a month. I don't think we will have all our eggs in one basket, finish the process, and rehire for position. And so I'm going to ask that administration, Russ, under your guidance, collectively meet tomorrow and determine who would be in the best interest of the town to sit as the acting CAO, which could be in some duration upon your exit.
Thanks, Randy. Mayor Councillor Vokes. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Next up, we have correspondence. And we have 3 items of correspondence under item A, Committee of Adjustment meeting from March the 2nd, 2016, Ontario Farmland Forum, and an email from Russ Phillips in regard to Liz Sandals, correspondence to Liz Sandals on the closure of Harrow High School. What's your pleasure? Need a motion to receive those. Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Vokes. All in favor? That's carried. Item B under correspondence is Township of Minden Hills, request for review of the new OPP billing model. Councillor Bjorkman, move to receive, supported by Councillor Caxero. Councillor Vokes, any questions?
No questions, but comments. It's certainly been an issue I've been concerned with over the past about OPP costing. I think I said it a short period ago, and the jury's out on what that all rolled out to. But with that being said, I think this is long overdue in terms of the OPP costing and what it means to each individual household. Because I have never ever in my 12 years on council seen anything fluctuate as much as that costing has. 1 minute we're having the discussions about how extremely costly it is, and the next minute we're having the discussions about how we're saving money. So I definitely support that initiative by far.
Thank you, Councillor Vokes. Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to point, Councillor Vokes, I understand what you're saying, but this is something that I feel the Township of Essex should not support, should only receive. The reason being is that this particular township is now playing catch-up. They are paying, going forward, they are paying an increasing amount of costs, where if we remember going forward, we are getting a reduction in our OPP billing. Our reduction does not equal the reduction that we deserve. Their increase does not equal, well, I don't know if it equals it, but anyways, the way I think about it is we are still subsidizing other municipalities. So right now, the cost for OPP is there is a base on a house. Each house has a base fee, and then you pay an additional cost per service. This is one of the municipalities that has higher calls, so they should be paying more. Where we in Essex have lower calls, so we should be paying less. So what I'm trying to say is that the OPP billing model is not equal. It's not applied the way it needs to be applied. We've tried in our town, I know Mr. Phillips has tried to lobby to get a fair assessment for the town of Essex and our ratepayers, because we aren't seeing the savings that we need to see. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Councillor Vokes, is that we're not seeing the reduction that we should be receiving. I think Councillor Bjorkman might have something to add that I've missed. But the way it reads, it makes you want to support it, but in supporting it actually means that we're subsidizing it.
Thank you, Councillor Bondi. Councillor Vokes?
Thank you, your Chair. To be quite honest with you, Councillor Bondi, quite frankly, it's just the opposite. Because I showed everybody the YouTube video where we sat in a room and we discussed the expenses of the OPP, and we talked about it for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I'll show everybody the video. And then, merely a month and a half later, I'm informed that the cost of the OPP is recessed by $600,000 or $400,000. And I said it then, and I'll say it now, is in terms of our OPP and what we're getting, we don't need what they're offering us. I don't understand why we're paying for SWAT units, drug enforcement units, helicopter units, all those things. I think there should be opportunity for a review like this to take place and find out what area specifically needs in terms of policing. It's one of our biggest expenditures in our budget deliberations, is in terms of essential services. And just because other areas are having a host of criminal activities and driving their costs up, we shouldn't have to inherit that cost. I just don't get their method and their whatever it is they worded it here, their new billing model. I think it fluctuates and moves and flip-flops around day by day. And we've seen it right in this administration right here. So, and hence, that's why I support that right there by far.
Thanks, Councillor Vokes. Just to for clarification, Councillor Bjorkman, your motion was just to receive? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask the question, all in favor? That's carried. Opposed? Do you want it noted, Randy? Please note that. Next item on the agenda is C, Town of Amherstburg, request that Ontario cancel RFP for added wind power generation based on Town of Wainfleet. So this is a receive and support by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions on this one? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Next up on the agenda is committee meeting minutes. We have two items. The first one is Essex Centre BIA from February 23rd, moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Second item is Essex Municipal Heritage Committee from February 29th, moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we're under new business, and Councillor Bondi, you are first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd actually like to thank our clerk for making me look brilliant in this motion that he's laid out here. I just thought the town of Essex should throw their support to the county and also the town of LaSalle that are opposing the increase in the emissions in the plant in Michigan. So the motion is pretty straightforward, that we agree with what the other local municipalities are doing, and we share the air naturally, and we are looking to see that our environment minister send a strong message that we here in Canada and Essex County do not want an increased emissions. So Marathon, this is a petroleum plant in Michigan, wants to release an additional 22 tons of sulfur dioxide into the air. That's 40% more than what they already put in. So it's pretty important here, since it's going to affect Windsor and LaSalle and of course Essex too, that we send a message that this is not okay. So just seeking council support on this motion.
Thank you. So we've jumped over new business and we've gone to notice of motion, but since you've already presented that, we'll go with the notice of motion, and let's move on from there. We'll go back to new business. So moved by Councillor Bondi and supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions on the matter? All in favor? That's carried. Now we'll go back to new business, and I think Councillor Bondi, you wanted to speak about Harrow High School.
Thank you. It's
No
clear
problem.
I have a baby at home. I had a meeting with the Harrow High Action Committee last night, and they are requesting a meeting with council in a nearest possibility, I guess. Tomorrow night is not an option because we are planning to go to the board again. Bill Parr is going to present to the board tomorrow, and we are going to ask them one more time to rescind their motion for closing Harrow High. We don't think we're going to get their support, but in the meantime, we have a couple of other ideas that we'd like to talk to council about. So perhaps through our clerk's office, he could send out an email and we could find a time and a place when we can get a quorum and have a meeting with the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Bondi, and you're finished. Thank you. So the next item happened to be mine. I just wanted to make a public announcement that the Essex County Agricultural Society is having their, on April the 7th, they're having their award for their, I'm going to mess this up, I know, because I didn't write it down. Awards for Agricultural Hall of Fame is what it is. And it's going to be held out in Harrow at the Agricultural Center, out at the park. And if you're looking for tickets, you can get a hold of Ann Anger at the Essex County Federation of Agricultural. Actually, I'm sorry, you don't need tickets, but if you want more information, you can call Ann. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock in the evening That's usually when it starts. And I can't even tell you right now who is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But if you want more information, like I said, you can get a hold of the Essex County Federation of Agriculture here at the Civic Center. The next item that I have that I wanted to add to the agenda was Essex Minor Hockey Association is having, they're hosting the OHF Adam Major Playoff Tournament starting on April the 6th. I believe they've sent a letter in, and they're explaining that they're going to have a couple hundred persons that will come based on just the teams that are coming, parents and the visitors and the players and so on, to the town of Essex. They're hosting the whole tournament here at the arena in Essex. They're asking for, Essex Minor Hockey is asking for some support based on the tourism that they may be going to attract to the arena and to the town here. It'll make our town pretty busy over that few day while the tournament is going on. And it's not only the tourists from outside of the town. They believe that there'll be a lot of interest and a lot of advertising that's going to go into, and already has happened with other minor hockey associations here in the county and in the city. And they're hoping to have a lot of local residents from other communities surrounding us come out to the games as well, because these are going to be the top, I believe, the top 4 teams from across Ontario, Northern Division, Ottawa region, Toronto area, and of course Blue Water, which is our league here. So I'm a little bit off, and I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Sweet, because he seems to know a little bit more about it than I do.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, this is a true provincial tournament where you've had other tournaments before any teams can enter. This is based on, for the province, there's 4 governing bodies: Ontario Minor Hockey, which is what Essex participates in, Toronto, Northern Ontario, and an alliance. So each top team is coming to this tournament, and the host for Ontario Minor Hockey, which could be from across the province, also is going to be Riverside, which is great for this area as well. So it's a true provincial tournament. Be a lot of prestige with this, and it is April 8th, 11th, all at the Twin Pad here, the Libro Center, or Libro Rink.
I'm going to ask Ms. Hunter if she can present what the request was, because I believe you have a letter from them.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, their request is for $5,171, which is basically the ice rental fees for that event. Their actual total rental is $6,356, but what they're asking for is $5,171.
Thank you. Councillor Vokes.
I'll put a motion forward that we waive that consideration.
Do I see any support for that? Supported by Councillor Kexero. Any questions? Councillor Kexero.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Meloche, to Donna. That money then can come out of what was left over from budget, or where will that come from? Because it's got to be supported from somewhere.
Through you, Worship, what I was going to suggest is, because it's an event where we're bringing people into the community, that this could fall under the Tourism Development Fund.
Okay, that's fine. Is that okay with Councillor Oakes?
Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Now we are on to bylaws, and I'm going to pass that over to Mr. Auger.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. No, I brought it up at the beginning of the meeting. We had Dr. Carswell and Harold. I think it was either 29 or 30 years service, and he retired, and I spoke on behalf of the town, thanked him for his service, but I think it'd be nice if we sent him a letter thanking him for the 29 or 30 years. I don't know how many years exactly, but he was there every day, serving our community, and I think it'd be nice on behalf of the town if we sent him a letter. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry. And now I will pass it over to Mr. Robert Auger.
Under bylaws, bylaw number 1498, bylaw to appoint a manager of human resources for the town of Essex.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Vokes. All in favor? That's carried.
April 4th. Yep. Bylaw number 1500, being a bylaw to establish and regulate fire services for first and second reading.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. All in favor? It's carried.
And bylaw 1501, confirming bylaw for these proceedings, first and second reading.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Caxero. All in favor? That's carried. And looking for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Caxero and Councillor Vokes. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you for coming out this evening and listening to what we had on our agenda.
Got